While Julian Newman basked in fame and constant attention, Jaythan Bosch remained in the shadows, until one unforgettable game changed everything. In their high school showdown, Jaythan showed no fear of the hype surrounding his opponent. He relentlessly locked down his rival, silencing the crowd's expectations and leaving Julian stunned. That night marked the moment Julian Newman was humbled by Jaythan Bosch. Born on April 6, 2003, Jaythan is an amazing baller and has sheer class if you'd ask me. He was really good, but didn't have the popularity that Julian had. This was due to the style of promotion Julian's father chose, a method that later received criticism and arguably was the reason both his kids flopped immensely. Jaythan gained popularity and fame from the time he challenged Julian Newman to a basketball contest. Despite Julian's presence, it took Jaythan just the last seconds of the game to steal the spotlight from the entire event. That final moment was shocking and left the crowd in awe. He was named the 102nd best basketball player at the collegiate level and currently plays for the CP25 club as their point guard and shooting guard. There was a chance that, if not for his abrupt height and stout stature, Julian Newman could be running riot alongside LaMelo Ball in the NBA. However, that was the first thing that disqualified the youngster. I believe his height is the main factor keeping him out of the NBA right now. Additionally, he's not as good as he used to be, which would strongly affect any chance of him being drafted at all. Despite being just a 5th grader, this young man was actively on the varsity team and consistently benching the older lads because, well, the boy was good. No doubt about that. No one really knew who Jaythan was until the showdown in 2017, where he matched up against Julian Newman, the big thing. No one expected what happened. It was supposed to be Julian stealing the show, but Jaythan played Jacob and claimed Julian's birthright. Both young men were equally talented and well-spirited, but one had been a household name since 2012, while the other made a name for himself after coming into the limelight when he played against Julian Newman. Enough talk about the background. Let's dive into the details of when Jaythan and Julian faced off. Right from the very beginning, it was very clear that Jaythan had no care whatsoever about the hype surrounding his opponent, but instead he took it as an opportunity to show the entire world what he was all about. Following up on Julian every step he took, locking him down and not giving him any chance to pull up the spectacular everyone was expecting. The matchup was highly anticipated as all the fans and onlookers were basically waiting for Newman to put on a show for them. No one knew who Jaythan Bosch was, and not much was expected from him by anyone but himself, as he had a statement to make on this big stage they found themselves. Jaythan Bosch and Julian Newman run it back at 2018 Neo Youth. During the NEO Youth Elite National Basketball Camp, which typically draws an audience of over 300 of the world's best youth basketball players, ranging from 3rd to 11th grade, something remarkable happened. As mentioned earlier, no one knew who Jaythan Bosch was. However, everyone was familiar with the prodigy baller Julian Newman. That was until Jaythan challenged Julian. True to form, Julian doesn't back down from challenges and has always managed to rise to the occasion against any competitor. But this time, it was different. Jaythan got the better of Newman throughout the match. The video of the game gained a lot of engagement, racking up about 2 million views on YouTube. Fans were shocked to see Julian dominated by a player they had probably never heard of until that day. Julian, however, was determined to redeem himself after that disappointing performance in 2017. At just 15, Julian Newman was already taking over youth basketball, carrying everything literally on his shoulders. He was talented and highly skilled. His sleek movements, deep-range shooting, and a host of other skills set the stage for what could be a truly dangerous player for anyone to match up against. However, those skills and talents often made him quite arrogant, as he frequently found himself in the middle of pointless arguments and unnecessary trash talking. On defense, it seemed like Jaythan Bosch was hell-bent on stopping and silencing the prodigy, Julian Newman. Despite Julian being a couple of years older than Jaythan proved that age was nothing but a number. Jaythan managed to force Julian into uncomfortable situations, holding his ground with laser focus. He didn't flinch or falter against Julian's skill moves. At one point, Julian attempted every move in his arsenal, but to no avail. The younger player stood firm, completely unfazed. While people expected a typical dominant performance from Julian, Jaythan, the kid no one had heard of, had something to prove. He wasn't there to play games. He came to make a statement, and he did just that by locking Julian out. Jaythan, a point guard and shooting guard, was as impressive on defense as he was on offense. It was on the attack, however, where he truly showcased his prowess, sending the crowd into an uproar. The key difference between Jaythan and Julian in that game was focus. Jaythan's resilience and drive far outweighed the ego Julian carried on his shoulders. Jaythan consistently made the right decisions, never attempting to showboat like Julian, who even resorted to disrespectful tactics, such as throwing the ball at Jaythan's face. Yet even with that, Jaythan remained unfazed. He played the game for himself, not to impress the crowd or seek validation. The future looks incredibly bright for this young talent, as he has even managed to share the court with two of the greatest to ever play the game, Michael Jordan and LeBron James. This happened in 2018 when he returned to Garfield, and damn, he didn't play badly at all against the world's best. But despite meeting tons of hooping greats and featuring on several shows at such a young age, Julian still got his ass handed to him by an average, not so famous baller. Let's talk about Julian, shall we? Well, stay tuned. This is going to be a pretty interesting story. But things seemed even brighter for Newman. He received numerous recommendations and featured several times in popular outlets, not to mention the fact that he met with some of the NBA greats. Just like slapping your opponent in wrestling is the most disrespectful thing you could do, bouncing the ball off your opponent's face is the most disrespectful move you could attempt. And well, Julian did that against Jaythan, probably in a notion to throw him off guard, but no, his laser focus was even more focused at that point and gave Julian a bad day at the market. One of the most amazing moments of the game happened when Bosch led an attack, slow and steady as he progressed. He drove left, giving the impression he was about to hit a three-pointer with Julian on defense. But what Bosch did next shocked everyone. He faked the shot, leaving Julian soaring in the wrong direction, and then scored a floater. The crowd erupted. Little did they know, it was just the beginning. Bosch had a motive for this game, and it was to make a statement. It was similar to when Gershon Yabusele dunked on the king, LeBron James, during the 2024 Olympics, causing a massive uproar among the crowd. Dunked on the king! That moment carried the same energy because at the time, Julian was seen as the king of youth basketball. Jaythan was relentless on the attack, pushing forward over and over again. At one point, he drove aggressively and was fouled by Julian and one of Julian's teammates. Like any focused player, Jaythan returned to the court unfazed. Julian, however, continued trying to trash talk him and showed his evident cockiness, but Bosch paid no attention, keeping his head steadily in the game. Julian continued playing his usual game, but his efforts were overshadowed by Bosch's raging performance on both sides of the court. Every time Bosch faced off against Julian, he came out on top. His all-around stellar gameplay ensured that he made a name for himself that day. Unlike LaMelo Ball, who had previously humbled and schooled Julian extensively, and even got a complimentary picture with Julian's sister Jaden, what a way to tick someone off. Jaythan didn't just dominate Julian, he made it personal through his focused and relentless drive. At that point, one would think that Jaythan and Julian knew each other before, and Jaythan was trying to settle some old scores, cause dude was roaring. The most iconic moment of the game came towards the end. Bosch had already made a move to one end of the court, dragging a couple of defenders with him. He squared the ball back to a teammate on the arc, then quickly moved to receive it again. As soon as Bosch got the ball, he executed a smooth spin move that left Julian utterly confused and off balance as he attempted a steal. Bosch didn't stop there. He maneuvered his way around the last defender, heading straight for the basket. The moment of truth came as Bosch took the shot. The ball bounced on the rim several times before finally sinking into the basket, leaving the crowd roaring in awe. That move erupted the crowd as everyone stormed the court, signaling an X with both arms, indicating that the game had been sealed and finished by Bosch. The crowd, initially there to watch Julian humiliate and stun the opposition, was now fully on Bosch's side, celebrating with him. The idea of Bosch making a name for himself was no longer just a possibility, it was a reality. He wanted to make a statement, and he did just that, but in a humble and composed way. After that game, I'm sure people would have begun asking what's his name, and yup, the kid that silenced the next big thing, the name on the mouth of thousands, and sometime soon, millions, Jaythan Bosch. In this game, game, the criticism that some held against the Newmans was validated. Their heavy reliance on social media for publicity and showcasing their play seemed to cause more harm than good. This matchup was no ordinary game. It was a classic underdog story. It was a defining moment that emphasized how the fundamentals of any sport matter more than trying to dazzle a crowd. Even in this game, it was evident that Julian was playing for the crowd, while Bosch played for his team and the true heart of the game. His resilience and determination to raise the Jaythan's flag so high was what kept him going, as he got that last shot of the game that erupted the crowd that converged on him. I'd liken it to the football star Neymar, who dazzles the crowd with his mesmerizing skills and dribbling techniques. Neymar may entertain with social media-worthy reels, but when it comes to passion and dedication to the fundamentals of the game, no one beats Cristiano Ronaldo, the greatest to play the game. Yes, Neymar is the better dribbler, but Ronaldo's commitment, drive, and mastery of the fundamentals make him the very best, and it shows. Similarly, this game marked a turning point for Jaythan Bosch. From that moment, people recognized who he was and what he stood for. It was progress all the way through as he went on to play college basketball, something Julian never did. Jaythan Bosch's biography: age, height, college, NBA draft, and more. While his early basketball career didn't have a lot of hype, it turns out you don't need all that extravagance and maximum popularity to make it to the NBA. Even though he's still in school, he has a strong chance of making it to the NBA, as he has been projected for the 2025 NBA draft. Furthermore, Jaythan being qualified for the next NBA draft, like music to the ears of onlookers and those who believe in him. Just like Julian, Jaythan also started playing basketball at a very young age. Surprisingly, he attended the same school that Julian later transferred to, Downey Christian School. There, Julian's dad became the head coach of the basketball team and also worked as a history teacher. He proceeded to attend Central High School in his hometown of Manchester, New Hampshire, where he graduated in 2020. As for his further education, he's currently a student at Daytona State University, where he plays for the basketball team as a highly reliable point guard. Measuring up to 6'1", Jaythan might still grow taller, given that he's just about 21 years old right now. So there you have it. The humbling of the prodigy prep baller doesn't end there. He's been humbled by several other players in the game, some of which you may not even know existed yet, but let us know what you thought about this battle on the court, and make sure to check out our next video shown on screen.